The horizontal that they're referring to is 90 degrees to down, and that direction of down changes around the Earth. If they,
You heard that? Changes around the Earth.
the horizontal that they're referring to is 90 degrees to down, and that direction of down changes around the Earth. If they,
You heard that? Changes around the Earth.
South is down, okay? But on the globe, down is towards the center of the globe.
No,
So my
really?
finger is showing the direction of down at various points.
And guess what? Every direction, or zenith or nadir, is different. So guess what? If you have a horizontal set at the top of your globe there, let's say in Asia, and then you have a new horizontal set at the equator, let's say Africa, it's a different horizontal. So a different up and down. So in other words, if you have pitch data, it will show.
You can't have up and down on a globe.
Nope.
Do they have a like a sideways or upside down Caribbean cruise line on that globe, or are they ever going to show that?
Nah, they won't.
You know what's also funny, guys? I always claim there's no up and down on the globe. But why is there a thing called the North Pole and the South Pole?
Well, that's where it started off with, like, flat earthers think that north's at the top and south's at the bottom. Well, on that axis, that is correct. That it has got a top and a bottom, but you don't have an up and a down on a globe. You have like into center of Earth.
Right.
You have a nadir and a zenith. Yeah, you have a nadir and a zenith.
Yeah, and are those parallel with each other, flats? Oh, and they got to be level too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They don't have any parallel zeniths.
Nada.
On the globe. And not understanding this, and not understanding that if you have a direction of down, you have 90 degrees to that, that's horizontal. So that's how aircraft instruments define horizontal, by knowing the direction of down and going 90 degrees to that. That's horizontal.
Yeah, and that's why when you fly level, you keep going where that reference to horizontal is. No curve. Well done, Wolfie.
You can't be parallel to a curve. That's stupid.
Oh,
you can be
all
concentric.
horizontals are parallel, and all horizontals are parallel to the plane of the horizon.
I'm gonna put a line, okay? And we're gonna put a point on every point in this line.
A degree for each one, right?
Yeah, we're just gonna say this is just every point. Okay, obviously it's not perfect. It's just to make an illustration. And we say it's 1 nautical mile in between. Okay? So that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, that's 5, 6, 7, and so on. Okay? So nautical mile, you guys get that?
Yeah. We got it. Yeah.
So
change colors, flats, just to make it interesting.
Great. So we would agree that the pitch data reading that is just going to give this. At every point where it pings, it just gives the same horizontal, correct?
Yeah.
Now, what happens when that?
You have a new horizontal, wouldn't you? Every
single whatever. I mean, it's just constant.
Okay. So we have this now. Now we have a horizontal. Oh, wait. New horizontal. Oh, wait. A new horizontal.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. A new horizontal.
Hey, it's pinwheel Earth.
So, in other words, what will the data show on the graph? Changing horizontal constantly, correct?
Of course.
So what's the graph going to show?
It would drop. Each horizontal will be lower than the other. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
It's a, you can be concentric to a curve. You can't be parallel to a curve. Two different things. Parallels lines, man. Like the definition of its name.
If you keep that same parallel with the zenith there, you'll end up in space.
Okay. Let's say this is their globe, and you got the runway here, and you got another runway here, and your plane is taking off of the runway here. Do you see an issue if it's not following this physical curve? I think everybody can see the issue, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this is down, this is up. This would still be down. This would still be up if it's not following the curve. So it physically has to rotate to follow the curve, correct?
Yeah.
I feel like they don't think multidimensionally though. They just think literally the North Pole up, the South Pole down, and that's where they're fixated on, and they can't, open their pineal gland open, enough to actually think within their own mind of how stupid this is.
Well, I don't think they think.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say think. Sorry about that. And I've been referring to, just as a slight, I've been referring to Govers as you people, just to see how long it's going to take for them to realize I'm insulting them in a horrible way.
But yeah, it's not hard to understand. If you claim to have an up and down, and you're sitting on the runway, you've got your gyros running, you got your HEG set, you got your horizontal set now. When you take off of that runway, you automatically have to have another horizontal if you're on a globe. Every centimeter you move would be a new horizontal. So your pitch data will show you following a physical curve. It doesn't do that.
Nope.
Because you're physically following a curve. The fact you don't follow the curve and your excuse is, well, it stays horizontal because it shows down. Yeah, it will have the same down because all the horizontals are parallel to each other. You got the same horizontal from when you take off to when you land.
Mm-hmm.
The same reference.
They don't know how gyros work, I think. That's really the big question. It stays rigid in space.
But his claim is the gyro auto corrects itself for gravity. And that's why it gives a reference of horizontal, which is him just making a claim. It's just a claim that's happening. That's false. The gyro is already set. It's made its reference. And its reference is based on a three-dimensional spatial space.
Sine and cosine are two of the most important functions in mathematics. Sine and cosine are two of the most important functions in mathematics. They allow us to solve the most critical problems in all branches of physics. They allow us to solve the most critical problems in all branches of physics. Consider flying an aircraft. Suppose we know the x, y, and z coordinates of where we want to fly to. Sine and cosine are two of the most important functions in mathematics. They allow us to solve the most critical problems in all branches of physics. The inverse sine, or the inverse cosine button on a calculator, will allow us to calculate the angle we should fly at. Calculate the angle we should fly at. Sine and cosine are two of the most important functions in mathematics. Calculate the angle we should fly at. This will allow us to navigate in all three dimensions. This will allow us to navigate in all three dimensions. Sine and cosine are two of the most important functions in mathematics. Calculate the angle we should fly at. So far, all the triangles we have encountered have had a 90-degree angle. 90-degree angle. 90-degree angle. 90-degree angle. Calculate the angle we should fly at. Now, suppose that this angle is a value other than 90 degrees. This relationship is always true for all triangles. This relationship is always true for all triangles. All triangles. All triangles. If this angle is 90 degrees, then the cosine of 90 degrees is 0. Then the cosine of 90 degrees is 0. This relationship is always true for all triangles. For all triangles.
So once you're going and you're flying, it knows up and down, it knows left from right. Your horizontal reference is based on setting it already. Simple as that. It's just the same as you standing. You know when, if you're, let's put it this way. If you stand, you're not going to get a headache. Now, turn your body upside down, hang upside down. All that blood's going to rush to your head, correct? So you're going to know what's up and down. You're going to feel it. It's the same with the gyro. It knows up from down because relative density, baby. Simple as that. But these guys want to claim it's gravity. Well, this gravity is so magical, it makes a physical curve not physical. I've got no other words to say for it.
Well, so when we talk about pitch attitude, and we'll come back to that later, the horizontal that they're referring to is 90 degrees to down, and that direction of down changes around the Earth. If they,
you heard that? Changes around the Earth. So that means it's physical drop, guys. You agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Physical.
And according to what physics now, the imaginary force of gravity is on its last leg, right? Like it doesn't exist. So you can't go, gravity is causing us to curve around anything.
But you heard him. It's physically changing. It's physically following that curve. So why doesn't the pitch data show this?
I don't know.
Because you're not curving. Because it's not going over a curve. He literally just actually killed his own argument.
the horizontal that they're referring to is 90 degrees to down, and that direction of down changes around the Earth. If they,
you heard that? Changes around the Earth.